and welcome back to Kowalski Mountain. I'm so glad you're here today. So today we are doing an update on my homesteading experiment. So back in August, on August 29th, 2021, I started this experiment with preserving eggs in the lime water solution. And I'm giving you an update somewhat regularly of how the eggs are doing. So right now these eggs are almost 7 months. Let's say 6.5 months in the lime solution. Now I have 2 jars. This was my original jar. This is my experiment jar. And I've been really careful to save these eggs because I don't want to run out before the end of the year. Now this jar was another jar that I just set aside for my own use. Now there were some differences between these 2 jars. This jar, I filled it with lime solution and I added the egg every day as we had fresh eggs. Keep in mind, you can only use fresh, unwashed eggs in this solution. Now this solution was done in October, and the difference between this and the other is this one I had about 3 dozen eggs that I'd been saving on the counter, and my chickens weren't laying very good, so it took a few weeks to get those 3 dozen eggs. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to preserve them. I went ahead and I put all the eggs into the jar and I filled it up with lime solution. Well, this jar I've had no problems with. These eggs have been good. I've had no floating eggs and they've been great. This jar, I have had some floating eggs. And if you're not aware what that means, as eggs age, the gases inside of the eggshell change and it'll cause the egg to float when it's going bad. And so that's a test if you have a good egg. You put it in water and you see if it floats. An egg that sinks is a good egg, and an egg that floats is not a good egg. And I actually have pulled 2 eggs out of this jar that were floating. I didn't try to open them, I just threw them out. This one I haven't found any. Now I am curious when we go into this one today and stir it up if we get any. That is kind of something I watch for every time I go into my pantry where I have these kept. I just kind of spot check the jars and I look to see if there's any floating eggs. And so far, this jar has been fine. So let's go ahead. Today is our 6.5 month update. So we're going to get into the jar, we're going to break open these eggs, and we're going to see how they're doing. Now when we use eggs from the lime water solution, we always wash them first. The lime is food grade, it's food safe, but we still wash it off. Now here's our egg, let's crack it open. This egg looks perfectly normal. The white is a little runny, which is common with eggs that are kept on the counter, so I'm not seeing anything that doesn't look appropriate. And now let's look at an egg that I took out of the refrigerator. Now these eggs were laid in the last, I'm going to say 3 weeks, and they've been in the refrigerator. Now this shell is much harder. I broke the yolk. Now this, you can tell that that white is a little firmer, but that happens with refrigerated eggs. Now this yolk is very yellow, much more yellow than the other one. I'm not really sure the difference. That may be the difference between spring eggs and winter eggs. So this is the one that I've taken from the refrigerator. And this is the one I took from the lime solution. Now for the big test. Let's cook with them. So the light colored yolk is the egg I took from the lime solution. And I'm going to cook that one. I'm not going to cook the other one. You'll trust me that that egg is like a fresh egg. This one is 6.5 months old, been preserved in the lime water solution that is sitting on a shelf in my pantry. The pantry is kept around 70-some degrees all the time, temperature controlled environment. Here we go. Now you can see that the egg whites spread out quite a bit. I told you they were kind of thin. The yolk is holding together beautifully. That was a terrible flip. Hard to do it with one hand and not hold on to my hand. It smells delicious. It's doing great. Now I like my eggs a little bit runny, so I've cooked it that way. You can see it's cooked just like a fresh egg. Now let's see how it tastes. It tastes perfect. This has been a great experiment. The things I've read about these preserved eggs in the lime water solution is you can keep them for like 1 to 2 years. I'm not looking to do that. I just want a way to keep enough eggs to last me through the winter. When the chickens are laying really well, I want to put those eggs away, save them up for the winter, and then in the winter when the laying slacks off, I'll have fresh eggs to use all year long. That's my goal for this experiment, and so far this has worked perfectly. Now Philip and I don't use a ton of eggs, and we do actually have access to eggs still, but the recipe has been amazing. I highly recommend preserving eggs this way. I've seen homesteaders who have large families that do them in 5-gallon buckets. I just do them in gallon-sized jars, and that's enough for our family. I hope you'll give it a try. Be sure to watch the original video, which I'll tag here, that gives all the instructions of how to preserve your eggs in the lime water solution.